You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 76 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. Have you heard of the prolactin hormone? This hormone comes from your pituitary gland and is what causes your body to produce breast milk. When this hormone's levels are elevated, it causes your body to think that it's pregnant and is producing milk. This was the case for today's guest, Courtney Shorter. In June 2015, Courtney delivered twin girls, Ryan and Morgan, 4 months early, both weighing 1 pound each. 3 days later, Morgan received her angel wings, and 3 weeks later, Ryan joined her sister in heaven. Courtney shares in this episode how high prolactin hormone levels caused her infertility due to a brain tumor on her pituitary gland, how she took medicine to reduce her levels, and her IVF journey to her rainbow baby boy, Hendrix. She also shares her inspiration for starting her event company, Ryan Morgan Events. This episode is for you to listen to if you have been diagnosed infertile due to high prolactin levels, or you have lost twin babies. Here is Courtney Shorter. Thank you, Courtney, for being on the podcast.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. So I'd like to begin with you sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Courtney. I live in the DC metro area, and I always say that my full-time job is event planning, but it's actually my own business, and I work part-time at a full-time company doing HR consulting. But if I could have it my way, I'd do my event planning full-time and give up the HR. But for right now, I do both. And I'm also the parent of a beautiful rainbow baby who was just born in June. And so I parent, learning how to parent. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. So tell us about your journey to motherhood and take us back on and tell us about your lost story.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's been a long, long journey. So my husband and I have been married for 13 years. And I would say probably about 10 years ago, we finally decided to all right, we're going to have kids, not thinking that it would be an issue, just lots of fun trying to make this child, baby Shorter, as we were calling it. And, days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months and months turned into years of no pregnancies, nothing, not even a miscarriage, not even anything. Right. And so I think for me, I kind of shut down because what that said to me was you need medical intervention. And I wasn't prepared to get help to have a child. I wasn't prepared to be the person who needed help. And so I would say probably for about 5 or 6 years, we didn't even talk about kids. We didn't try. We didn't talk about it. It wasn't that we weren't trying, but we also didn't seek any type of help or intervention or medical assistance or anything like that. And then about 5 years ago, you always get the question of, when are you having a baby? When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to make me a grandmother? When are you going to make me a grandmother? And my response was always, when it's time, when God sees fit. But really, what I wanted to do is just go hide and cry because I knew that we had been trying, but nothing was happening. And so then when we really, it was like, okay, we're going to go see a doctor, figure out what's going on. They discovered that I actually have a brain tumor. And the brain tumor is called a pituitary tumor. And what it is, essentially it tricks your body into thinking you're already pregnant. And so you don't ovulate, you don't have a period, you don't get pregnant because your body already thinks that you're already doing the thing or you're already pregnant. And so that's what was happening. And so no matter how many times we had fun trying, the pregnancy was never going to happen without a medical situation or medical help, right? And so about 3 years ago, we finally were at jobs where some of the procedures were covered. We were making a little bit more money so we could afford some of the treatment plans that were out there. And so we started with what's called ovulation induction. And that's just where they basically stimulate your ovaries so that you ovulate. So we did that, got pregnant the first try, and was like, oh my gosh, so excited. Like, sweet. This worked on the first try. We knew so many people that had tried several times and, it did not happen for them. And we just felt incredibly blessed that we didn't have to try again. We didn't have to do anything. It worked right away. So fast forward to like week 6, week 8 of the pregnancy, and I go to the emergency room because I'm spotting, and they say, oh, we see 4 sacs, so 4 embryos. And I was like, 4? Like, who knows? No one's trying to have 4 kids. But I was like, I waited this long to have kids. If it's 4, it's 4. We're going to do what it do. And then about a week later, I went back to the doctor for follow-up, and it was just 2 sacs. So 2 of the 4, I don't know if they call it dissolved or just kind of didn't mature or whatever. So we were left with 2 sacs. So everything was going well. Week by week, high-risk pregnancy, things were going well. Doctor's appointments, the little babies were growing. We found out it was 2 girls, twin girls. We were so excited. Things looked well. Pictures and, how you do the weekly, oh, this is my bump. I did all that. And then at 23 weeks, a Friday morning at 9:30 a.m., I was laying in my bed on a conference call because I work from home. And I felt this gush of fluid, like almost like I had to go to the bathroom, but I had already went. And so I got up to go to the bathroom and I was bleeding. And so I called my husband, I called my best friend, I called my mom, and the bleeding wouldn't stop. Obviously, we went to the emergency room, and it was the worst experience of my life. It was the worst experience of my life, and not because the babies were born yet, just the way we were treated in the hospital. So, we're there in the hospital, and the doctors come in, the nurses come in, the NICU nurses and doctors come in, and they say, we can't stop you from bleeding. And at this point, we either have to take your babies or you're not going to survive because we can't stop you from bleeding. And what had happened was one of the placentas ruptured, but they couldn't tell which one. And so in some situations, when your placenta ruptures, they can put you on bed rest, they can save it a little bit, or if they can figure out which baby it is, they'll take that baby, leave the other baby. But they couldn't figure out which of my daughters, placenta ruptured. And so we went for an emergency C-section, but they were only 23 weeks. And so the doctor comes in and she says to me, at 23 weeks, the survival rate is only whatever percentage she was. It was a very low percentage. But we're going to do all that we can to save them. But at this point, again, we have to take them because you won't stop bleeding. And if we don't take them, then you aren't going to make it either. And so just imagine like laying in the bed, hearing that your husband is there, your mom is there, everybody's nervous, people are screaming, it's chaotic. So we're rushed in to have the C-section. And then it was so quick that like no one was in the room with me. They wouldn't even let my husband in. And as probably because it was an emergency. And then once I came to, because I don't remember anything, obviously, because I was put to sleep, I had 2 daughters, Ryan and Morgan. And, we knew that there was a chance that they wouldn't survive. We knew there was a chance that they could survive because we heard stories of 23-weekers who had survived. So we were praying that we were going to be in that small percentage, right, of micro preemies who survived. And my daughters were only a pound when they were born. And Morgan, who was the younger twin, survived for 3 days. And so we had her for 3 days. And on the third day, they called. I was still in the hospital. They called and they said, Mr. and Mrs. Shorter, we think you should come down. We think Morgan's not going to make it through the night. And so we rushed down and we got down there and they were explaining that they had her on like the highest everything, like the highest oxygen, the highest, like everything that you put a preemie on to help them survive. Like she was receiving the maximum of all of it. And there was just nothing more they could do. And so they were like, but you're the mom, you're the dad, you have to make the choice. Do you want us to keep trying and I just looked at her and she just looked so frail. Her body was scarred from all the, because they had to take blood every day. They had to do x-rays every day. And imagine only 3 days. So you imagine like her little 1 pound body had been through more pokes and prods in 3 days than most adults probably receive in their whole life. And so, we decided it was enough. It was enough. And so they started to take her off all of the machines and everything. And as they did, they were doing like manual breaths for her. So we got to hold her. We got to talk to her and say goodbye. And I just held her in my arms until she stopped breathing. And I cried and cried. Then I was like, okay, God, okay, you've taken her, fine, okay, but we still have Ryan, who was doing well, and I was like, well, we got to be strong for Ryan because she's still alive, she's still here, her sister's gone, but she's still here, so, we got to focus all of our energy on making sure she's okay. So she was doing good, she was doing well, and then they called us and said she developed it wasn't an infection. I forgot what it was, but she developed some type of virus, She developed a virus that caused her to have to be put in like an isolation room. Like she couldn't be around the other babies. And so when we would come to see her, we would have to like wash our hands, put on like a suit, put on a mask. And like if you left out the room, you had to take it all off in the room, throw it in the trash. And then when you came back in, you had to do it all over again. And so one time I was coming and I left my keys on the sink. I was like, oh my goodness. It took me 30 minutes before I could actually get in the room and hold my daughter because I had to do that twice. And so we doing good. Father's Day came. My husband got to hold her for the first time. Got to change her diaper. And we just was like, okay, this is it. We're gonna like take Ryan home. And 3 weeks later, so she survived for 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks. We were at home, got a call. We think you to come to the hospital tonight. Ryan's having some trouble. And so when we got there, I walked in the room and they had already called Children's. They were going to try to airlift her to Children's. They were doing like compressions on her chest and they had all the lights on, which never happened in the room. It always was dark. When I looked at her and she grabbed my finger and she opened her eyes. And then she closed them and that was it. She was gone. She didn't survive long enough to be flown to Children's. And so she was gone and I just remember all of the doctors and the nurses just like giving us hugs and they were all crying and it was just like it was beautiful chaos, if that makes any sense. It was
Yeah.
chaotic because it was so many people who were trying to do whatever they could to save her. It was just beautiful because I think like the staff knew like how badly we wanted her to survive. And I think they just felt bad for us. You know, they were crying. And I remember her nurses were like just crying, just like holding her and kissing her. And that was it. You know, it was just like, we came in the hospital pregnant with 2 babies. And our final visit to the hospital, we left with neither of our children. And that was hard. That was so, so, so hard. Oh my gosh.
Wow. And we can feel your pain and we know your pain. Oh, but it feels good to cry and let it out though too.
Yeah. I've had a lot of crying over 3 years. So, you know, we go home and you just don't know what to do with yourself. Like you just feel so broken, so stripped of any joy. Angry with God. Like these are all the feelings I was feeling. Angry with God. Like how could God do this to us? So, you know, he knows what we've been through because before we lost our daughters, my husband lost his mom, his brother, and his grandmother all within like 5 years of each other. And his dad, his father, his brother, and his grandmother. So we felt like our girls were like not replacement for their family, bringing some joy back into his life as well.
Right.
And then to lose them both, oh my gosh, it was just like, I mean, it was the worst thing. And I've heard people say like their heart was broken or they felt heartbreak. I know what that feels like. Like I could feel just like the pain in my heart, like just, I can't even describe it, but I felt it. You know, like I remember one time I was trying to eat some rice or something, I don't know, and I dropped like a forkful of the food on the floor and I just like lost it. Like the whole plate, I dropped the whole plate. I like fell to the floor. I'm like screaming. I'm just like, why, you know, not my babies. And to make it even worse, make the feeling even worse, my best friend, we were pregnant at the same time. And my goddaughter was born in May. My girl was born in June. And as much as my best friend wanted to be there for me, every time I looked at her and my goddaughter, it was just the pain all over again.
Wow.
Because they literally like a month apart. And so as much as I tried to be joyful and love my goddaughter, because I love her to death, you know, it was hard. I'm glad that my best friend recognized it was hard and she didn't push her on us, right? I mean, she wanted us to be in her life, but to the extent that we felt comfortable, which I really appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank God for best friends who understand that.
Yes. Actually, I was like, I'm going to jump back in and try again. And the doctor said, don't rush, take your time, wait a year. And I was like, nope, we're going to jump back in, do it again. And I had a miscarriage. Like it worked again and I had a miscarriage. And like, I don't care, I'm going to do it again. Keep doing it until we have a baby. And I literally went crazy. I mean, you know, I'm joking, Lisa and I went crazy, but I literally lost my mind. And I went to therapy. I took off from work, obviously. And I remember when I finally went back to work, I don't think I actually did any work for probably like 6 months after I went back to work. Just because I just couldn't focus. I didn't want to be there. All I could think about was my daughters. The first holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, it all sucked. You know, it all sucked so bad. And then what I realized, just because I eventually told people that we were pregnant, because we did a whole face announcement. Lesson learned, don't do it so early anymore. And so then I had to go back and tell people when my daughter's passed. And we did this. I remember, like, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to do all the things so that people will think I'm okay. And so we did this walk in October for Children's Hospital in memory of our girls. And we got these T-shirts made and we sold them and people paid for the T-shirts. And the money that people used the money that we collected for people buying the T-shirts, we donated to a NICU. But we did the walk, we got the T-shirts, and the weekend of the walk, it was pouring down rain, and so they canceled it. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Like I lost my daughters all over again. I think that was the thing in my mind. I was thinking, like, if I do this walk, everybody will think I'm strong and people will know that I'm Superwoman. And when that thing got canceled, I was heartbroken all over again because this was the thing. This was my thing and it didn't happen. And then people started reaching out through like Facebook and text message, like, it happened to me. I had a miscarriage. I did this. How did you do this? How did you do that? And for a while, I was angry with people asking me questions about miscarriage because I was like, I didn't have a miscarriage. I had to deliver my children. I did not have a miscarriage. And I was angry that people assumed it was the same thing. Right. So that was initially in the beginning. But once I kind of did some healing and some searching and got right, I am not angry about it anymore. I realized when people lose their children, a loss hurts, whether it's miscarriage, stillbirth, you deliver, you're dealing with infertility, like it all hurts. And so I don't get angry about people saying I had a miscarriage too anymore. That was the worst thing that people could say to me. And I just wanted to like rip their head off. And I was just like, why are you so angry about it? And I realized it was because I was just like, I didn't have a miscarriage. I wanted people to remember my daughters. But again, now a loss is a loss and it hurts because I've also now had 2 miscarriages. So we tried again after the girls a few times and got pregnant twice, and both of those ended as miscarriages. One was a miscarriage and one we had to have a D&C because the baby stopped growing. So we took a break about a year. So last July, I started a journal and I just started writing letters to my unborn child. And my very first entry was on July 9th, 2017. And it said, to my unborn son, I'm going to do all the things I need to do to get you here safely and I'm going to take care of my body because I had like gained weight. I started eating a bunch of junk food and, you know, all the things that would make it more difficult to carry a child anyway. I was doing all the things. And so I stopped doing all the things and started this journal. Like I said, the very first entry was July 2017, and it goes to my unborn son. And at the time, I was not pregnant. I had not even begun to try. We weren't pregnant. We didn't know what we were having. And I really began to pray. I've been praying like in and out the last 3 years, but this time I've been very intentional about waking up every morning, reading the word, talking to God, talking to my son who wasn't here yet, and writing in this journal. And then September, we went to the doctor, started an IVF cycle. And I literally went to a group of my friends. There are about 5 women that I love dearly. I went to them. I started a Facebook group and I said, I need you guys to pray for this pregnancy. And they were like, oh, you're pregnant. I'm like, nope, not yet. I said, but this time it's going to work. We are going to have a son. He is going to be here. But I need you guys to pray for us every day. And so I had very clear dreams about my son. One day I woke up and I called my best friend and I was like, do we know any kids named Josiah? And she was like, no, why do you ask? And I was like, I had a dream about a kid named Josiah, a little boy. And 2 days later, I found out we were having a boy. And so this pregnancy, Hendrix Josiah is his name, it shown to me very clearly. Every step was shown to me in a dream or through prayer or through other people saying things to me. And just like being obedient and praying and writing in this journal, it all was revealed. And so, you know, I don't tell anybody what they should believe or how they should believe or what their spiritual path should be. But for me, when I began to do the things that I knew I should do, as far as like taking care of my body, going to acupuncture, working out, being obedient, following the word, things began to be very clear. And now we have a son. And, you know, he doesn't replace Ryan and Morgan at all by any means, but definitely like the greatest joy that I have right now.
Awesome.
Hey, sister-in-laws. It is December and Christmas is near. The best Christmas gift you can give me is to rate and review the Sisters-in-Laws podcast. What is your favorite episode that you've heard in 2018? What episode resonated with you the most on your grief journey? Let me know in your review. Give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. That is the best Christmas gift that you can give me by leaving a review. I'm trying to get to 100 reviews by the end of 2018. So thank you so much in advance for your reviews, and I look forward to what we have in store for 2019.
So take us back and tell us really a little bit more about just your healing journey from losing your twins and then your miscarriages after that, and then just how you went through your healing journey while you were pregnant with your rainbow baby.
Before getting pregnant with Hendrix, I did a lot of like talking to other moms who had been through similar situations, similar things. Like I said, again, miscarriage, stillbirth, infertility, whatever. I did a lot of meetups. I did a lot of like groups. Because what I found was like, I didn't do support groups, right? Because I went to like 2 and the people in the support groups, 1, didn't look like me. And 2, I just did not find them helpful. I found them very, they made me very sad. And I just was trying to get out of sad. Like, I wanted to be in a place where, even though I knew I was sad, I didn't want to feel that every day. I wanted to experience some joy. And so what was joyful for me was to throw myself into work. Like I planned, like I said, my event planning company. So that was the first thing I did. I'd been working with a event planning company. And so one of the first things I did was I left the company, started my own company, Ryan Morgan Events. And so named it after my daughters. That was so healing for me to like see their name in a logo, to see their name constantly, to just be reminded that everything that you do for this company, for your clients, is in remembrance of your daughters. And people would always say, "Oh, hey, Ryan." I'd be like, "Nope, that's not my name. That's my daughter's name." And so I got very comfortable in telling the story that my twins had passed away. They were preemies, they were micro preemies, and micro preemie is this and that. And that was very healing for me. For some people, they would say, "I don't know how you do it. I couldn't keep talking about it." But for me, it was healing. I did fun stuff. I went to acupuncture. I got massages. I went on hikes. I went on trips. I had fun. And I remember like people making me feel bad for having fun. And I remember one time I'd gone on a trip and someone said to me, like, "I can't believe you're on a trip. How are you? Your daughter's just passed away. You're supposed to be with your family." But really making me feel shame for wanting to experience joy. And it wasn't that I wanted to forget what I was going through. I just wanted some joy. And I didn't want to feel the shame for having the joy. So I did all things that really made me feel good. I cut out a lot of people in my life because I felt like if you couldn't be here for me when I'm going through the toughest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life, then you don't get to be a part of my life when it gets good. And so there are people that I used to talk to that I no longer talk to now. And, people would always say, well, maybe they just don't know what to say. And I get that. Some people don't know what to say, but some people didn't say anything. And those are the people that I'm like, hey, hello, do you realize what happened? How can you not say anything? Nothing. I had family members one of my family members told my mom, well, I keep calling her and she is not answering the phone, so I'm just going to leave her alone. What? Oh. So yeah, for me, like I said, healing meant experiencing joy, finding people who had gone through what I was going through and bonding with them was very healing for me. So that's how I did my healing. And then once I got pregnant with Hendrix, the only thing different that I did was to be very intentional in reading the Bible, praying over his life every morning and every night, and not letting any negativity into my life. And so at the moment where I felt people were being negative, or if I felt like someone didn't have our best interests at heart, I just left them alone. And, it wasn't no shade, it wasn't a lot of words where I felt like I needed to say, you XYZ, you did this, you did that. But I just protected our space. And I felt that was important in getting him here healthy and not getting him here early or having him to be in the NICU. Because my biggest fear was, well, I had a few, but one of the biggest fears was that he would come early and the same thing would happen. And so I remember when I did make it to 23 weeks with him, which is the same time I had Ryan and Morgan, when I made it to 23 weeks with Hendrix, I cried for a whole week. And I couldn't understand why that made me so sad, because it was like, at 23 weeks, I cried. 23 weeks in 1 day, I cried. 23 weeks in 2 days, I cried, because that meant that each day past 23 weeks, he was going to be better. Because I remember they kept saying if they had survived in the womb one more week, they probably would have been okay. Because I think 24 weeks is like the 24, 25 weeks. I can't remember. It's like where they say,
24, 25 weeks is like vitality. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's what I kept thinking. Once I hit 23 weeks, I was like, okay, if I can make it to 24 weeks, I know he'll be okay. If I make it to 25 weeks, I'll be okay. And then we made it to 35 weeks and they were like, your blood pressure is really high. We want you to go for monitoring. And so he actually was a whole month early.
Okay.
And I remember him having to go to the NICU. So yeah, for me, like I said, healing was definitely finding moments of joy and just finding ways to remember Ryan and Morgan.
Absolutely.
And actually loving on my friends' kids. Like all of my friends had kids, and I intentionally loved on them and didn't stay away because I knew in my mind I was going to be a mom, and I said I don't want to be hard and cold to these kids who did nothing to me. So I was very intentional in loving on my friends' kids as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And journaling and prayer definitely does work. So for you all out there who are listening and are unsure about how to heal, sometimes you just got to get it out, and journaling is a great way to do so.
It was so healing, so therapeutic. Exactly. Because I wrote down stuff that I had actually never told anyone about the experience. It felt good to get it out on paper and go back and reread. It was hard, and some of it made me cry all over again. But I realized I'd never shared with people that I literally almost died. Like nobody except my husband knew that I literally, like, real life, no joke. If they had not done the C-section, I would have passed away as well. And I wrote in my journal about choosing my life over their life, which I didn't. That's not what happened. But in the moment, I felt like I was choosing my life over their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about how you feel about parenting. Since now that you have your rainbow baby, how do you feel you parent differently or not at all? Tell us about your parenting after loss journey.
Well, it's definitely different because parenting from the NICU is completely different from parenting in your own home, right? Parenting in the NICU is you wash your hands every time you touch them. You put on a suit every time. You can't touch them. You can't change them. You can't feed them. I remember they kept saying, bring breast milk, bring breast milk, bring breast milk. Well, I never produced any breast milk. So again, feeling guilty because I was like, I can't even feed my children. Like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I can't even feed my children. So I felt guilty again. So parenting in the NICU was definitely hard and different because you literally can't parent your child the way, and I'm doing finger quotes, normal parents parent their children. Your baby stays there at night. You don't bring your baby home to the crib. You don't bring them home to nurse. Like, they literally stay there 24/7. So it's definitely different. But being a parent to Hendrix, now that he's home, I do find myself being overly protective. And I mean, I keep saying it's because he's little and because he was a month early, but really it's because I'm just so incredibly thankful that he's here and I want nothing to happen to him. So I fully parent. And so, like, he just started daycare. And I already know the daycare lady probably hates me because I'm just like, well, how many times did you change him? How much did he eat? Did he sleep in the bed? What did you do with him? Did you hold him? And I know she's probably like, who is this crazy lady? Because I want to know all the things because I don't want him to be there anyway. I just want to stay home and look at him all day. Partly because, like, again, we've been married for almost 15 years. So imagine just wanting this experience for so long, and when you finally get it, oh, it's like you're on like parenting times 10. It's just like hella crazy. You're just like, I'm going to do all the things, like all of the obnoxious things as a parent because this is my one and only. I'm 40, so he's probably going to be the only baby. It's just obnoxious. I'm just obnoxious with it. And then, like, I'm laughing and jokingly saying obnoxious, but, you know, I did weekly pictures. I like take pictures of my phone every morning and then I like print them on, you know, when you get pictures in the mail, I print them. So he has like 4 photo books already. He has like a closet full of clothes. I mean, just obnoxious, but I've waited so long for this experience that I refuse to not do all the things that make me happy about being a parent. And if that seems over the top for some people or too much for some people, I really don't care. Because I waited so long to be a parent that I just want to do all the things that make me happy about being a parent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you should.
Yeah. Like, I'm already planning his first birthday and he's 4 months.
Absolutely. And you should do it all, plus some more.
Yeah.
So tell us about any resources or tools that you use to help you on your healing journey.
I really, really lean on my friends a lot. First, my girlfriends, when my twins passed, were at my house the same day. And they brought dinner, they brought food, they brought laughs, they brought hugs, back rubs. Somebody washed my clothes. People opened down mail. Like, my friends took care of my husband, and I just can't even explain the like gratitude I have for the women who are my girlfriends. I mean, for at least a good year, like, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to think about anything. Like, they just took care of us. And I'm forever, forever, forever grateful. And through each miscarriage, like, again, my best friend, she just would come over and just like rub my back or rub my feet or bring potato chips and ice cream. And when I needed a break, she was there. She was like, "What do you need? I got you." And she still, to this day, is a resource for me when I need to talk or just to let it out. So I would say, anybody who's going through something like this, like, you have to get you a tribe of people that understand and can support you. Like, you have to get you a tribe. Like, you can't go through this alone. Because we're not made to be alone. We're not made to go through stuff like this alone. And you can't be ashamed to tell people or ashamed to ask for help or ask for support. Because that's how you get better. That's how you get through it. So that was one thing that I did. Like I said, I did a lot of hosting of a lot of groups. And so I know people would ask me all the time, but like, how can you be the host if you're the one experiencing the loss? And I said, because like, one of the things that makes me feel good is making other people feel good. So I'm a nurturer by nature. Like, I love to take care of people. And so one of the things I did to help me was I hosted groups, or I hosted meetings for women who had lost children, or I went to the baby shower of the mom who was having the rainbow baby because I knew how it felt to get to that point, or like wanted to be at that point anyway. And again, journaling, the Bible, like, I had it on my phone. I journaled for a whole year. I got back into the Bible. Now, I didn't necessarily go to church. And again, I'm not knocking anybody's religion or how you practice or how you, how you show up in your faith or anything like that. But for me, I didn't do church, but I did a lot of reading of the word, scriptures and Bible, and a lot of books that were, they had like feel good quotes in it, is what I call them. I did a lot of that. And I did a lot of, to be really, really honest, therapy. Oh my gosh, was like the best thing that I ever invested my money in. Next to my best friends, therapy was the thing that helped me live, because suicide was a very appealing option in those first few months of losing my girls. And therapy was the thing that saved my life. So I would say to anybody, everybody, if you are experiencing loss, if you're experiencing infertility, if you're experiencing a miscarriage, if you desire to be a mom, you don't know how you're going to get there, go to therapy. People of color, we, for some reason, feel like we don't need that, or like we shouldn't go, or we shouldn't tell people we need therapy. It saved my life. And quite honestly, without therapy, my husband and my best friends, I probably would not be here, to be really, really honest. And one of the things I prayed when we lost the girls was, God, don't let my marriage fall apart. Like, I know that this is something that could break a marriage up very quickly. And the thing that I prayed the most is that my marriage did not fall apart, because my husband was the thing that I needed the most in that moment. So tools, therapy, support from family, friends, somebody, and journaling, God, groups.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Yeah. So how are you now with your brain tumor and just your self-care now that you are a new mom?
So when I started journaling in July, what I promised myself and my unborn son, again, he wasn't here yet, was that I would take care of my body and I would do the things that I know I needed to do to get my body in shape. And so I worked out, I did acupuncture, I did massages, I stayed in therapy, and I So this is the other thing that I didn't do that I should have been doing. I stayed on my medication for my tumor. So part of the treating the tumor is this medication that I'm supposed to take. And I would like take it, not take it, take it, not take it. And so it's fine now that I've been on the medication like I'm supposed to be, and I take it regularly, and I'm being an adult and following directions. So it's fine. The only thing is that once you get pregnant, you actually can't take the medicine. So I haven't taken it in 9 months at this point, or 12 months at this point, I guess. And so once I've finished breastfeeding, I can go back on the medicine unless the tumor begins to grow again. And so as long as it stays small, I can continue to breastfeed. And then once I finish breastfeeding, I'll go back on the medicine if the tumor grows again. Yeah, that's crazy. So most people don't know that I have a brain tumor. They just, because I just don't talk about it. But yeah, that's the situation with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So what encouraging words can you leave the mom who has been trying and has experienced a bout of infertility and is just really looking just some encouragement on this journey?
One of the things I would say is don't give up. I know it's when you've gone through this for years, or you've gone through several cycles and nothing's happened, or you've lost and you've lost and you've lost, you want to give up and you don't want to try again. But I'd say don't give up and try again until you truly, truly feel like you don't want to do it again. Because again, it's an emotional thing. It's emotionally taxing. It's physically taxing. It's mentally taxing. Like, it's hard to go through these cycles over and over and over and over again and not have anything happen. Because although we had 2 miscarriages and we lost a set of twins, so that's 3 pregnancies. Hendrix was 4 pregnancies. We also did probably like another 3 or 4 cycles with no pregnancy. So even though it worked one time, it worked 2 times, there probably were like 5 or 6 other times that it didn't work at all. And so I finally got to the point this year where in my mind and my heart, I knew this last time was going to work. But I also had gotten okay that if it didn't work, I wasn't going to try again, and I would be okay with the family that I had. And that was hard to actually say that out loud. But at some point, you do have to say that. And so I say, don't give up until you get really, really clear that you're okay with your family as it is. You don't get pregnant, or you don't have money to do another cycle because it's expensive. And not all health insurances pay for it. Thankfully, ours paid for a good portion of it. I mean, we still have to pay a whole lot of money. But thankfully, insurance covered some of it. The other thing I would say is figure out, like, if you are spiritual, get your faith together, right? Like, have faith that if it's been shown to you, it's going to happen. And in those moments where you're in the middle of the storm and it feels like the pain and the grief, and you're like, well, why is it happening to me? Why did God let this happen? If he's shown you it's going to happen, you have to have faith that it will. It may not have happened this time. It may not have happened when you wanted it. But if he's shown it to you, it will happen. And you just have to have faith that in his time, he will give you what you desired. Because God is he's not a punishing God, right? And like for a while after the girls passed, I felt like he was punishing me for something I'd done. And I had to get very clear that he's not a punishing God. Like, that's not what he does. He doesn't punish you in that way. So you got to get really clear about that. And I would say go to therapy. Like, go to therapy. Like, find a therapist and go. Like, my first session after Ryan and Morgan passed, for an hour, I sat and looked at this woman and I cried. I didn't say a word. I just cried for an hour. She asked me questions and I would just shake my head, you know, and it was okay. Like, she wasn't judging. She wasn't trying to fix it. She didn't, because that's the thing, like, stay away from the people who are trying to fix it, right? Like, every time you say, boom, 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 they got to come back. Or the people who are like, oh, you're young, you can try again. Or the people who say, well, he's or she's in a better place. Dead all that noise. Don't talk to those people. Get them out of your life. You know what I mean? Not necessarily out of your life, but don't share the journey with those people, because those are the people who are going to make you feel bad. Mm-hmm. So you need to find the people that are going to support you and uplift you. And if it's nobody else but the therapist, then that's the person you need, right? And be okay with that. Like, you can't share your journey with everybody, because not everybody knows what to say. And some people who think they're being helpful are not. I can't tell you how many times, like, the last person who said to me, they're in a better place, I wanted to, like, wring their neck. What's better than being in the arms of their mother and father? How is that better? But, you know, people come with all types of things, and I don't think they were being mean by saying that, but nobody wants to hear that when all you want to do is be a mother to your child. Or so I would say therapy is actually what I would say. Get some therapy, get some help. Don't share your journey with all the people, because everybody's not equipped to support you on a journey like this. And get yourself in some groups of people who are going through what you're going through. And I don't necessarily mean support groups either, because, again, I went to two and they didn't look like me, and I just didn't feel comfortable. And when I got around other women of color who had experienced what I'm experiencing or had experienced, it felt okay to share. And that's why I was adamant about hosting, because I couldn't find a group to go to. So I just hosted my own, whether it was a dinner with a group of people who had, you know, were experiencing this, or whether it was just a lunch, it was a movie night. And right now I'm, like, actually in the middle of planning, like, this really big retreat for women of color who have experienced loss, infertility, anything, you know, just an opportunity to be in a space with people who understand what you are going through or have gone through, and don't make you feel shameful about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being on the podcast and sharing your story and sharing your light. Where can we find you on social?
So on social media, Instagram, and I'm on Facebook under my beautiful daughter's name, Ryan Morgan Event. And I just started another group called Soul Free Mamas. And that's a group specifically for women of color who have experienced loss or who are living with infertility.
Awesome. So I'll make sure I link all those in the show notes in the description box for you all. Thank you again, Courtney, for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And I would love to chat with anybody who has questions, who wants to know more. I'm an open book. I don't mind sharing. So please reach out if you want to have coffee, dinner, have questions, anything. Do it. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I pray that this show was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes, visit ericamcafee.com/podcast. Please join us in our offline discussions in our private Facebook group by going to sistersinloss.com. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, please rate and subscribe to us and leave us a 5-star review. I pray that you all have a blessed week. Keep the faith, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday.